everyone, this is a review of our last lesson, and this week we looked at pages 69 and 70 in the lesson book. Now some of you did not have an in-person lesson with me this week, and I do apologize if I had to cancel. I was on a field trip with some of my high schoolers on Friday, but hopefully you can watch this video and get somewhat caught up, and we will review this material again in the next lesson. I tried to make sure everyone had a lesson sheet, but if for some reason you didn't get one or you lost yours, remember there is a copy of the lesson book in Google Classroom. So you can just go on, download that, and look for pages 69 and 70. But let's get into the lesson. This was a really exciting lesson because we learned a new note. So up until this point, every lesson we've had, we have only played with 4 different notes. Those are your 4 open strings. And we've been able to play some really cool things with our 4 open strings. But moving forward, it could get really, really boring if we only know 4 notes. And so we're going to add a new note today. Now, since we're done playing open strings, there's no other open strings we can play, the next step, what we have to do next, is start putting fingers down on the strings. And that will change the pitch of the string and help us to play different notes. And so today we are learning the note E. Now if you play violin or bass, you might be thinking, I already know the note E. I have an open E string, and you do. But you'll find in music, as we get into some harder things throughout this year, sometimes you'll have double duplicate notes, 2 notes that have the same name but they sound different. So in this case, your E string, we're going to call your open E string, but the note we're playing today is called E on the D string. And these notes, they're going to sound different, and you read them different on the staff. So it's important to kind of separate those 2 things in your mind. So today we're all learning E on the D string. Now before I show you that, there's a couple of things you need to know about putting fingers down on the string. First of all, every one of your fingers gets a number. When we put our fingers down on the string, we are using our left hand. Your right hand is still the one doing the plucking or playing with your bow. Your left hand is the one pressing down on the strings. And so each of these fingers gets a number so that it helps us to know which finger we're talking about as we're playing and as we're learning. Your thumb does not get a number, and your thumb is the only finger that won't press a string down. Your thumb has a home base. We'll talk about that in a minute. Your first finger, your index finger, we call finger 1. So it's also called your pointer finger. So your pointer finger or your index finger is your first finger. If I say put your first finger down, I'm talking about your index finger. Your middle finger is finger 2, your second finger. Your ring finger, finger 3. And your pinky, finger 4. So we have thumb no number, 1, 2, 3, 4. And today we are using your pointer finger, finger 1, for a note. The other thing I'd like to show you is where your thumb goes on your instrument. If you play violin or viola, when you have your instrument up, your thumb is nice and relaxed and rested up against the neck of the instrument right here. Notice it's not sticking up, right? It's not bent in a weird, awkward way. It's just straight and resting right against here. I'm not squeezing. It's really just rested really, really gently up against the neck. And you can also see that my arm is nice and straight. I know it's hard because I have long sleeves on, but my elbow, that's not my elbow, my wrist is not bent in an awkward way. It just goes right from my hand into my wrist, into my arm. And so I'm not scrunching like this, I'm not holding like this, just a nice straight arm with my thumb relaxed right up against the side of the neck here, okay? It's very, very similar for cello and bass, except instead of your thumb being on the side of the neck, it's right square on the back. And a lot of times for cello and bass, I actually will give you a little sticker so that you can feel it to make sure you are in the right spot with your thumb. And so you'll have your fingers down kind of like this. But it's the same concept for every instrument, just looks a little bit different, and your thumb has a slightly different spot to stay. But you want that thumb in your home base as we're about to play this new note. Now, this note E that's on the D string is actually played the same way for every single string instrument, which is pretty cool because you'll see later that basically every other note is played in a different way. So this is one of the few notes that we all play the same. So we have our instrument up. We have our thumb in its home base, wherever it is for your instrument. And you're going to take your first finger, that's your index finger, and place it on the D string on your first sticker. Now, I don't have stickers on my instrument, but we talked about this in class. You have one that's the closest to the top of your instrument, to the scroll. then you have a space to the second sticker, and then the third sticker is right next to the second sticker. So we are putting our finger on the first sticker, the one closest to the top of your instrument. So we have our instrument up. Our first finger is pressing down on the string. I'm using my fingertip. If you do this correctly, and we talked about this in class as well, you'll actually get a little bit of a line on your fingertip because you are pressing down on a piece of metal, right? So we're pressing down on the D string, and as you do that, if you are pressing hard enough, it will sound like this. I just plucked the D string. I had my first finger down on the D string. That means the note that I played was not D. The note was E. So we have to start getting used to the fact that we could play a specific string, but the note that we are hearing is not the name of that string. If I didn't have any fingers down, the note is D. The minute I put that first finger down on that sticker, it becomes E, and that's very important to understand. If you take a look at your worksheet at page 69, there's a little box with a big word there. That word is perseverance. And some of you knew what that word meant, others weren't quite sure, but the word that we use in our school a little bit more often is grit. So what it says is using your fingers to play notes takes great strength, and it may take a few days before your body fully adjusts to the strength necessary to play with your fingers. But you will persevere, and soon you'll be playing E without a problem. So it's really important to remember that this is some tough stuff. This is why we didn't do this on the first day of lessons. I waited until your 6th lesson to talk about putting fingers down because I know it's a challenge. And so it may be a little bit uncomfortable as you're pressing down on the string. You do have to press pretty hard, especially for cello and bass, but even violins and violas, you have to press hard enough so that the pitch changes. But the more you play, the more your body will adjust to it. You'll get some calluses on your fingertips, and it will get easier, I promise. But you have to stick with it, and you have to practice a few days a week, right? 3 or 4 days a week, so that this becomes easy for you. One thing before we get into reading our music that I will tell you is if you're not pressing hard enough, this is what it will sound like. You get that like empty, hollow sound. That means you're not pressing hard enough with your finger. You need to press it down harder, and there is the note. So make sure you are really, really pressing with that fingertip. Again, you'll get a little line on your finger, but that's just your rite of passage as a string player. So congratulations, you are a real string player because you have a line on your finger. All right, so let's jump into reading the note E because we have to learn how to read this music so that we can incorporate it into everything else we have learned. On the front page, there's a cute picture of a yellow elephant. Elephant starts with E, and the note E they make yellow in this lesson book. Remember, the colors will not be there forever, but they are for today. So let's look at the first line. We are going to continue to use the say it, pluck it, play it method. So we are going to say it, the first line. By the way, all of these notes are E. They're practicing reading E, so that's why they're all E's. Here we go. E, rest. E, rest. E, rest. E, rest. E, rest. E, rest. E, E. Let's put our instrument up. Now there's a lot to think about. We have to get our thumb in the place where it belongs, get that first finger pressed down on the string, on the D string. Even though we're playing the note E, we are plucking the D string. So make your L, put it up against the fingerboard, and let's play this. 1, 2, here we go. E, rest. E, rest. E, rest. E, rest. E, rest. E, rest. E, E. Excellent. Grab that bow. Now there's even more to think about. We have our instrument up in perfect playing posture. We have a beautiful bow hold. And we're putting our first finger down on the D string to make the note E. We're going to set our bow so that the hairs are on the D string in the sweet spot. Let's play this together. 1, 2, here we go. Rest, 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 rest. Awesome. And of course, we are all still learning and adjusting to using our bow, right? And so this is another thing to have some perseverance with, right? Don't beat yourself up about it if you can't do it perfect, but you have to try it. Don't avoid using your bow because it's difficult. That means that you have to use your bow and keep practicing it so it becomes easier, right? Be careful not to use teeny tiny bows like this. It doesn't sound good when you do that. You really have to move it. was really happy to see this week a lot of kids getting more comfortable using their bow. So excellent job with that. Line 2, I left for you to do on your own. It's very, very similar to line 1. It's all E's, but I want you to see if you can do that on your own. Remember, say it, pluck it, play it. Go ahead and flip to the back to page 70. Part of our homework this week was also Sword of the Samurai. I do not expect you to do Nature Walk. That one's a little bit harder. You're welcome to try it if you'd like, but we're focusing on Sword of the Samurai. As you look through this piece of music, hopefully you notice there's only 2 notes, E and D. So we're either playing open D or D with one finger. And that means when we're playing with our bow or when we're playing pizzicato, we are only playing the D string. You never play your A string or E string or C string or G string. You only play the D string. Okay, so that's important to remember. Even when the note changes, it's just a finger going down. You're not moving to a different string. Let me put my bow down here for a second. We're going to read our notes for Sword of the Samurai. Ready? Here we go. E, E, E. Rest, rest. D, D, D. 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 E, E. Rest. E, 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 E. All right, we're going to play this pizzicato. Let me show you a little trick, though, that will make things much, much easier for you. Easier, get it? That's, oh, such a terrible joke. I made that in almost every group, and they said, that's a bad joke. That's not a good joke. All right, so I have my first finger down on the D string. When I go to play the note D, I obviously have to take my finger off, right? But you want to avoid going like this and just completely getting it off of the string and away from where it needs to go, because very soon you need to put your first finger back down for the note E again. So when I take my first finger off, it's just going to hover over the string, kind of like a helicopter. It's waiting there for the next time I need to put it down so that it's ready to go. Do you see that? So this is D and this is E. D, E, D, E. Hovered like a helicopter, okay? Let's play this pizzicato. I'm setting my first finger down on the D string. 1, 2, here we go. Now D, back to E. Rest, 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 rest. All right, that's Sword of the Samurai using the second step. We set it, then we plucked it, now it's time to play it with the bow. Let me grab my bow. Now, Sword of the Samurai has a really fun play-along track that I will link in Google Classroom. Hopefully after everyone's had a chance to practice this week, at our next lesson we can all play together with the play-along track. It is pretty fun. Remember, the play-along track has 4 beats of count-in, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have 4 measures of rest while they do an introduction. So let me put my instrument up. Remember, my bow is staying on the D string the whole time, so there's no need. We've talked about raising and lowering your elbow to change the angle to get to different strings. There's no need to do that. Set your bow in the sweet spot on the D string. It's staying there the whole time, right? I'm going to put my first finger on the first sticker on the D string.
Good morning. Thank you.
Sorry, I had to cut that. We had an announcement. So I don't know where I left off, but we have to put our first finger on the D string on the first sticker. That means I'm playing the note E, and I'm going to put my bow on the D string. So 1, 2, here we go. Rest, rest. Rest, rest. Rest, rest. Rest, rest. Rest, rest. Awesome. All right. So work really, really hard on this. By next week, I expect you to know how to play the note E, how to read the note E on the staff, and that you can play Sword of the Samurai and those little exercises on the front of page 69, okay? Everyone have a great week. Have a happy Thanksgiving because I don't think I'll see most of you before Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in your next lesson.